What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We thank you for joining us on our podcast today. It's good to be back with you after this winter storm here in Texas. I've been getting a lot of well wishes from people and people checking in and say, Phil, we ain't heard from you. What's going on? I did leave a message on the community tab letting people know, hey, I'm good. But they say, nah, we ain't seen you. This is not like you to be MIA like that. And, it's good that people, are looking out and concerned, because a lot of people, including, myself, dealt with a lot during that time. Now, I was, definitely I would say halfway, probably more so 3/4 of the way prepared for all of this, when this happened, because, we kind of believe in preparation around here. And, I'm going to, probably discuss more of this in another live stream about preparation and why we as a people need to always be prepared for whatever we're dealing with. And, it's some serious things I'm definitely going to break down with that when I do that particular live stream on the main channel. But today we're going to talk about Mr. Herschel Walker. Now, you had once again an HR 40 hearing. And why would you have another HR 40 hearing? Now, I want to go through Herschel Walker and his, speech with what he said. Now, Herschel Walker used to play for the Dallas Cowboys back in the day. He was a good athlete back in that time period. And what we want to talk about here with Herschel Walker is, I don't know if he got CTE, but Herschel Walker is definitely a shucking and jiving bootlick, and his son is even worse. My God. But the apple don't fall too far from the tree. Now, always be careful about someone always saying what black people don't need. There's other groups don't say that, but let me go through this. I'm going to play his words, and then I'm going to have to stop it where I feel that we need to stop it just to discuss what he's going to say. So let's go ahead and get this started, because I haven't fully heard it, but I heard part of it, but I'm going to stop it in real time.
Preparation, which has been spoken about many times over my lifetime, but over the past year has become a hot topic. I asked the question, why? There's been many surveys show that a large percentage of black and white teens would say racism is better today than yesterday. We use black power to create white guilt.
Huh? What is he talking about? We use black power to create white guilt. Black folks not even thinking about, Mzungu at all when they talking about black power. And black power is basically taking control of your own destiny. You having your own grocery stores. That's a form of black power. You educating your own children. That's a form of black power. You having your own banks, you having, your own, services that can service your community. When they had the free breakfast program, that's a form of black power. When you had the free medical program, that's a form of black power. You understand? What part of any of that is attached to a quote unquote white guilt? No, this quote unquote white guilt is all the evil they have done to black folk for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's why you feel guilty. We don't have the power to make you feel guilty. Let me get spiritual for a minute. Now, even the Lord himself said that the ministry of the Holy Spirit will be in the earth to convict men and women of sin. So that is your guilty conscience being weighed upon for your evil by the Holy Spirit, if you want to get spiritual. Well, let's continue. Now, this man sound like and listen, this man, the way he's talking, he sound like they just let him off the plantation. But let's play this.
My approach is biblical. How can I ask my Heavenly Father to forgive me if I can't forgive my brother? I never want to put anyone's religion down, but my religion teach togetherness. Reparation teach separation. Slavery ended over 130 years ago.
Not bad.
Hold on. Reparations teach separation. Well, did you say that about the Holocaust? See, when people are getting money for the Holocaust, where's that talk about forgiveness and that's causing separation? Anytime it's time for black folk to get something, Here comes some bootlicking, shucking, and jiving Sambo. Talking about together and togetherness with who? Who do I need to be together with? Who? So these people are so much of a slave, y'all. Oh my God. And when you start hearing them talking about, their religion and Mzungu Jesus, you ought to say, you know what? Okay, I can't listen to you at this point because you're still a freaking slave.
How can a father be asked his son to spend prison time for a crime he committed? In the case we speak of, we're researching farther back in history, a history many are not taught or spoken about in school. America is the greatest country in the world to me, a melting pot of a lot of great races, a lot of great minds that have come together with different ideas and make America the greatest country on earth. Many have died trying to get into America. No one is dying trying to get out. Reparation.
Oh my God, this guy is literally reading a script. Y'all picked the most ignorant fool to read y'all script. See, this what happened. Them folks wrote this man a script because he reading from a script. Like, he's not even trying to play it off like he kind of glancing at some notes. No, he literally reading a script. They sit up there and crafted that script for Herschel Walker to read it, and my Lord. Like I said, once again, he literally sounds like, come on, bro. I know you went to college, Herschel Walker. I know. We all know you went to college. What did you learn? Why do you sound like that? Are you sound that way on purpose? Like, oh my God.
Where would the money come from? Does it come for all the other races except the black taxpayers? Who is black? What percentage of black must you be to receive reparation? Do you go to 23andMe or a DNA test to determine the percentage of blackness? Some American ancestors just came to this country 80 years ago. Their ancestor wasn't even here during slavery. Some black immigrants weren't here during slavery, nor their ancestors. Some states didn't even have slavery. We as black Americans have always wanted what the Constitution stated: all men, black, white, and today Latino, Asian, Italian, etc., should be guaranteed the alienability rights of life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. Years later, after slavery ended, Dr. King, I Have a Dream speech, said, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was a great beacon of light, but hundreds of years later, we're still not free because of segregation and discrimination. Today, I call that reparation.
What the hell is he talking about? Oh my God. That's reparations? Oh my God. I want to know who wrote that for him. I really want to know who wrote that. Come on, man. Did Jared Taylor write that for you? Was it Jared Taylor? Was it Richard Spencer? Was it Tucker Carlson? Was it Sean Hannity? Who wrote that for you, man? You sound dumb. But let's go on and explain who reparations would go to, since Herschel Walker doesn't know. Okay, Herschel Walker. Anybody that come to this country has nothing to do with it. It is the United States government's policy that slavery was legal, okay? The United States government has still been in operation from the time of slavery up until now. And the U.S. government would be the one cutting checks, not individual people. They're not going to pull no money from anyone's bank account to pay a reparation. Who would it go to? It would go to the descendants of those who are African slaves. Those are people that was imported into this country as slaves in chains, not by choice. Those of us who trace our ancestors back to the slavery, killing fields of America. Like my ancestors who were deported from, the continent of Africa and landed in Virginia. And how my ancestors went from Virginia down to sugarcane plantations in Louisiana. People like myself qualifies for reparations because my ancestors are the people that built this country. Black immigrants that come into this country, they came in after America was built. Understand? Everybody else that came in later came in after America was built and benefits from the wealth of America that came from slavery. Understand something. Slavery created capitalism. Slavery created the wealth that America had over any other nation throughout the world. The reason why America was the wealthiest country in the world is because of chattel slavery. It lasted almost 250 years. America does not have to give reparations to just anybody that's black. No, they must have a lineage that's here in this country. They must have a lineage that traces back to the slavery plantations of America. No one could just come here from any country and say, oh, well, I need some reparations. No, that is not the way it's going to work. It wouldn't even be fair for it to work that way. We just talking about reparations and how it should work. Notice, and I always say this, everybody becomes an economist all of a sudden when it's time to start paying black people something, or even entertaining paying black people something. Well, I don't know how we're going to pay that, with the deficit and with, my taxes. And now the government wastes all kind of money all day long on stupidity. But when it comes to for black folks to get one thing, oh, well, you got your financial PhD now. But it lets you know that it's just in a lot of people to just can't stand black folk. That's why they don't want you to have nothing, because they're threatened by you, because they know when you get a little bit, you take the world.
Ask my mom, who is in her mid-80s, her thought on reparation. Her words, I do not believe in reparation. Who is the money going to go to? Has anyone thought about paying the families who lost someone in the Civil War, who fought for their freedom? Your dad and I talked.
Actually, they did pay people from the Civil War.
You, speaking of me, to provide for you and your family through a good education and hard work. If you give a man a fish, you feed him a day. You teach him to fish, you feed him a lifetime. Reparation is only feeding you for a day. It's removing the sign of for whites only, replacing the sign for no education here. Black America is asking for a hand up, not a hand out.
Now, Herschel Walker's last statement, Black America is asking for a hand up, not a hand out. You fool. You just gave the greatest case for reparations ever when you said we looking for a hand up. Yes, a hand up from discrimination in the area of financial. The reason, let's talk about the wealth gap here for a minute. When you have 74% of white people are homeowners and only about 44% of black people are homeowners, closing that wealth gap would be home ownership. How would you become homeowners with having the money to become a homeowner? Do you understand that? Now, why home ownership is important? Home ownership is important because you create an asset that you can sell. You could build up that property. You could eventually sell it, move somewhere else, etc. Also, reparations can help with capital for businesses in the black community. If we can grow businesses, we can hire more in the black community. For instance, the more money that I receive and opportunities that come my way, then that's the way I can grow. And now where we at now, where we have people within the community working for us. And that's a beautiful thing. Would it happen because of growth? Now, what if reparations was to come in and we getting reparations? Now we could take the reparations money and apply that more to the business and grow more so we can hire more. You think I don't want to hire more people? I would love to have someone in every state working for me. I would love to have someone in every African country working for me. I would love to have someone from every Caribbean country working for me. I would love to have Afro-Latinos working for me from every country and giving us the news from everywhere. Because that's definitely where we're going to go. But it costs money because we have to pay people. Nothing is free. So if I'm looking at it that way, then that is a hand up. And why you want to tell black folks what to do with their reparation money anyway? If they want to go and trick it off, buying brand name clothes that can't stand our black behind, that would be on them. If they want to go sit up there and drink Hennessy all day with it and smoke weed, that's them. But some of us would take that money. Some of us will say, you know what? I got my reparations now. F y'all, I'm out. I'm going to the Caribbean. I'm going to the continent of Africa. I'm just getting away from y'all, but I got my reparations now. I got the money to get started. I got the money to go buy my property now. You understand? So that, in a sense, reparations would, if he says nothing else, reparations is a hand up, and your grandma is an old Sambo. She is. That's why you the way you are. I mean, the apple don't fall too far from the tree, and this is what he admits. So basically, his grandma a coon.
Another big question: who is the guilty party? Should we start at the beginning, where African Americans sold the African American ancestors into slavery, and to a slave trader who eventually sold the African American ancestors to slave owners? The slave owners who had no success and no luck trying to make a Native American whose land they took become their slave, because the Native American ran away. Well, they thought it was fine then to use African American who didn't know the country, didn't know the language, didn't know the religion, and they didn't run away.
Huh? What the hell is he? Oh my God, who wrote this for him? Okay. First of all, when yes, you did have some African tribes that was a part of the transatlantic slave trade. They were selling off slaves. Yes. Oh yes. That's the truth. But you know what? When they got over here, those tribes didn't know what they done to them. Those tribes don't know about the beatings and the rapes and the buck breaking, and they didn't know anything about that. So you can't even mention them after the selling part. What are you bringing them up for? Why? Number two, the Native Americans, if you look at history, fought the white supremacists. And we talking about those who you consider the Mongoloid Native Americans. I'm sorry. When you talk about the $5 ones, they fought them a lot. I know you heard about the wars against the white supremacists and the Native Americans. They just didn't run away and say, oh my God, here come the white supremacists, let's run. They constantly fought against them. So what are he talking about? Now, eventually they were defeated because the white supremacists had more, firepower than the Native Americans had. But don't think they just ran away. And they tried to enslave the Native Americans, but it didn't work. Too many of them was dying off. They could not handle the work. The Africans was the strongest one to handle the work, handle the transfer from the continent of Africa to here. And then you had some African tribes that already were here prior to that, because I have talked to Native American tribes and showed me a particular drum that they received from Africans prior to the transatlantic slave trade. They were traded with them. So Africans was coming over here way before the Columbus even came to the Caribbean. You understand? Like, so, but unless it's in that redacted, history that they try to teach in that fake school that they try to, what I call a fake public school, and I call it fake because it's not teaching us anything other than just indoctrinating you into a false sense of white supremacy.
So I asked, why reparation? Well, slavery is because to the year 2021, still talking about reparation, not equal education, not to compare a game to a horrible period in my life, but as I fought shoulder to shoulder with my fellow football brothers of other races, I saw struggles they were encountering the same as I. And I heard them speak to their parents of problems my family were dealing with as well. If a black player would have been given something different than any other player, it would have created problems within the team, separation and division. Ezekiel 18:20, the righteousness of the right shall be upon him. The son shall not suffer for the crime of the father, nor the father suffer the crime of the son, unless either father or son know beforehand the father or son was a criminal. To help any race, provide them with a good quality education. and help incentivize through opportunities with responsibilities, which helps generations in the future. If reparation is a fee or a correction for a terrible sin of slave owners, government, and others, but we punish the non-guilty party, is it not creating division or separation with different races? I feel it continues to let us know we're still African American rather than just American.
Yes, Herschel Walker, we are Black Americans. We are. They always made us other than. They've always had two Americas, even during the time of Dr. King. He talked about that speech, the two Americas. Like, what is he talking about? We ain't got to go that far back to slavery. But what you hearing all this, oh my Lord. But you know, there are Black folks that are paid, ladies and gentlemen. There are Black folk that are paid to try to do everything they can to disrupt anything that Black folks are trying to do. Okay. I mean, then that's been a problem. That's a problem on the African continent too. You have their, government officials and leaders who is sold out and working for the white supremacists to, not help out their own as well. So trust me, that selling out is a big problem in the Black community. And we need to get openly hostile toward any one of them that's like that. We got to get extremely hostile because they're dangerous. They'll cut our throats and watch us die.
Reparation or atonement is outside the teaching of Jesus Christ.
Actually, according to the Bible, you making things right is not outside of the Bible at all. Actually, the children of Israel left with the spoils when they left Egypt. Okay. So if that was wrong, why did they leave with spoils? No, paying a reparation, repairing the damage that's done. When people do something wrong against you, let's say if you get in a car accident and it's found out that this manufacturer actually had a recall, they pay you for the damage that is done because it was their fault why you got hurt due to their faulty product. You understand? Or if you cause the death of someone, you pay for that. You can pay for that criminally. You can pay for that civilly. It's all in the law that you can pay a fee or a judgment for something that you caused. So since a person can sue you for defamation, for harming their business, and you get paid for that, how come you can't get a judgment for the hundreds and hundreds of years of murder and pillaging and destroying our businesses and doing everything you can to literally try to take us out underneath the government? Listen, if it was just a Ku Klux Klan, you couldn't really have a justice claim on anything. OK, but when it was the U.S. government's policy to do these things to Black folk, that's when you can have reparations and go after reparations. You understand? But the problem with the reparations now, it's a problem, but we're going to get to the good side of reparations in this whole conversation. But let's let Mr. Herschel Walker finish his, few minutes here. Well, a few seconds is left, and we'll get to the good part.
Who you are teaching, who will not be teaching the word of God. So I speak back.
All right. So that was Mr. Herschel Walker there. Don't know why he was there. He don't know nothing. He didn't say nothing. He didn't prove anything one way or another. But let me tell you about the good thing about this reparations conversation. Let's get to the good point. This conversation, I believe, can finally break Black people's demonic bondage to the Democrat Party. Let me say why I say demonic bondage. Black folk have this, religious type of hold with the Democrat Party. Black people, if you look at the way we think and move, we're actually socially conservative, but we don't vote that way. And the reason why we don't vote that way is a good reason. We can't get down with Mzungu conservatism because that's not our goals. Their goals is white supremacy. We don't want to maintain white supremacy. And any person who tells me they are a black conservative, I'm going to say, okay, what are you trying to conserve? Because Mzungu conservatism is about maintaining white supremacy. So are you telling me you're trying to conserve white power, white domination, white control? I mean, is that what you're trying to conserve? What are you actually trying to conserve? You got to pose that question. Every time I pose that question to a quote unquote black conservative, they never could really tell me what they're trying to conserve for the black community, because I'm not trying to conserve what I'm seeing in the black community right now. No, we need transformative change to go back to what we used to do. I don't want to conserve what I'm seeing today. And matter of fact, the left wing party don't really line up with our socially conservative mindset. It don't. Let's call it what it is. Most black folks is not pushing what Biden is pushing with the transgender sports and everything else that Biden is pushing. Most black folks aren't pushing that. Most black folks that I know are down with all the Planned Parenthood and all the things with that. We ain't down with. There's a whole lot of things that they do we aren't down with. The only thing that Lyndon Johnson said a long time ago is that when he do that legislation and say he gonna have those N-words, voted Democrat for over 200 years, and doggone it, so far he's been right for at least over 50. He was right about that. But I believe black folks should be, independent. And I say black independent. And what I mean by black independent, it means we need to be independent of any political party and focus on the interests of black people, period. Those who are liberals, if you a quote unquote black liberal, you're only trying to fit the views of what white liberals want. And that's not what we need to accomplish. I do not want to be a part of any party that tells me I can't do nothing for black people. Sorry, I'm not on what Kamala said. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I need the same respect as other groups. And I'm trying to tell black people the solution isn't Democrat. The solution isn't Republican. The solution is independence, black independent party. That's what you need. But this mess with like I said, but if they don't do reparations in this term, you know what that tells you? The Democrats played you once again, and you a fool if you vote for them. Like I said, I think it's actually good. Let Jim Crow Joe and the Democrats have the control. See, they playing games. Oh, well, we on this reconciliation, so we really do need the Republicans to sign. No, they don't. Do you understand? They don't need the Republican to sign on to any legislation now. They control the House, the Senate. They control it with Kamala Harris's vote, and they have a Democrat president. Okay, if they want you to have reparations, black folks, it's done. Understand that. If they don't do reparations for you, this stage of the game, they didn't want us to have it. And you need to let them know politically, you know what? I'm not voting for you no more, because you showed us when you had the power to do it, you refused to. You came up with everything else. And the time is ticking because 2022 is coming. And you know what was going to happen? A lot of them Democrat seats going to flip. They're on the timetable. They can stay in control if they do reparations. But I know them. They don't want, just let me tell you something. You're talking about the MAGA crowd and the MAGA racism. At least I know what they're on. I told you that the left wing of white supremacy is more sinister to me, because it makes you actually believe that you're part of something good and have you part of your own oppression. They'll reward a few people, like they do plantation politics. They'll bring some of you in the house. And they'll feed you better. You'll have more clothes. You have better clothes than them feel slaves. You're not all broken and beaten like the field slaves. But at the end of the day, you're still a slave, though. Yes, you eat the master's food. Yes, you are the master's children. But you're still a slave. You're not controlling anything. And be honest with you, there's some black folk that's cool with being a slave. That's cool. But I'm talking about those black people that don't want to be on a plantation. Because I'm a firm believer some black folks who act willing to go back on a plantation if they had a choice. They're justified. Well, at least I got a house. I got a place to stay. I mean, yeah, I got to do a little work, but what's the difference? I have to go to work for white folks now. Some of them are justified that way. So what I'm saying is, we're going to cover the next one we're going to cover is Larry Elder, because it's different levels to the sellout, right? Larry Elder is the angry sellout. We'll get to him the next podcast, but Herschel Walker is the bumbling, idiot that sounds like he just got off the plantation type of sellout. We have them. He couldn't even come up with thoughts on his own. He had to read his whole statement. And that just amazes me. Like I said, Herschel Walker should feel ashamed of himself. Now, let me ask you a question. Where is the Asian Herschel Walker? And what I mean by the Asian Herschel Walker, can you point to me to an Asian person that don't want Asian people to have anything politically? Can you point to me to the Arab Herschel Walker that don't want Arabs to have anything? Can you point to me the Latino Herschel Walker that don't want Latinos to have anything? Could you point to them? You get what I'm saying? See, we the only ones that have a whole group of people that just want to still be a slave and want to stop black people's progress and understand black oppression keeps them employed. But the only way we can deal with them is like how they were dealt with in 1804 in Haiti. You must get at the Herschel Walkers and the Larry Elders and get them out the way first. Because if you don't do that, they will continue to try to throw salt in the game. Now, do I believe what they're doing with the HR 40 thing? No, I really don't. But it's good that we have this video to, examine on this podcast about what we're dealing with here in our community.